విద్యా విధానంలో డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ ఓపెన్ యూనివర్సిటీ దేశంలోనే మొట్టమొదటి సార్వత్రిక విశ్వవిద్యాలయం. దాదాపు 2.5 దశాబ్దాలుగా దూర విద్యా విధానం ద్వారా కంప్యూటర్ కోర్సును అనుసంధానం చేస్తూ బీఏ, బీకాం, బీఎస్సీ డిగ్రీ కోర్సులను అందిస్తోంది. పోస్ట్ గ్రాడ్యుయేషన్ స్థాయి, డిగ్రీ, డిప్లొమా స్థాయి కోర్సులను ఔత్సాహికులైన విద్యార్థులకు అందిస్తోంది. డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ సార్వత్రిక విశ్వవిద్యాలయం స్థానికంగా స్వయం బోధనా పద్ధతిలో ముద్రణ రూపంలో రూపొందించిన కోర్స్ మెటీరియల్ అందిస్తోంది. కోర్స్ మెటీరియల్ అధ్యయనానికి సహకరించే విధంగా రేడియో, టెలివిజన్ పాఠ్యాంశాల ఆధారంగా కార్యక్రమాలు ప్రసారం చేస్తోంది. అధ్యయన కేంద్రాల ద్వారా ఏర్పాటు చేసే సలహా సంసర్గ తరగతులు, సైన్స్ ప్రాక్టికల్ సౌకర్యాలు విద్యార్థులకు స్వయం అధ్యయనానికి ఒక చక్కటి అవకాశం. ఇవి విద్యార్థి సమీపంలో ఉండే అధ్యయన కేంద్రం నుంచే పొందొచ్చు.
కనీస విద్యార్హత లేదని బాధపడుతున్నారా? చేతిలో కనీసం ఒక డిగ్రీ అయినా ఉండాలనేది మీ డ్రీమా? ఉన్నత చదువులు చదవాలని ఉన్నా సమయం అనుకూలించడం లేదా? మీలాంటి వారి కోసమే ఈ అద్భుతమైన అవకాశం. అంబేద్కర్ సార్వత్రిక విశ్వవిద్యాలయం మీకు బాసటగా నిలుస్తోంది. ఎలాంటి కనీస విద్యార్హత లేకున్నా ఉన్నత విద్య అభ్యసించే అవకాశం. బిఏ, బీకాం, బిఎస్సీ ఈ మూడింటిలో ఏదో ఒక డిగ్రీ 3 ఏళ్లలోనే మీ సొంతం. వయసుతో పనిలేదు, అర్హతతో అస్సలు అవసరం లేదు. ఆడుతూ పాడుతూ ఇంటి ముందుకే డిగ్రీ పట్టా తెచ్చుకోండి. మరి ఇంకెందుకు ఆలస్యం? యూనివర్సిటీ వెబ్సైట్ ని సందర్శించండి.
Hello viewers, welcome to today's teleconference program. In this program, we will discuss the topic on successive differentiation. This is for first semester, first year BSc Mathematics students. To discuss about this topic, we have two eminent experts in this studio. Let me introduce them. Professor Srinivas Garu, Head Department of Mathematics, JNTU, Hyderabad. Welcome you, sir. Another expert, Professor Fanikumar Garu, Department of Basic Sciences and Humanities, Vignan Institute of Technology and Science. Welcome you, sir. This is for 60 minutes program. In the first 40 minutes, experts will discuss the topic on successive differentiation. In later 20 minutes, you can contact us to clarify your doubts. For that, I will give you contact numbers. Please note down. 040-270-31431, 040-270-31432, 040-270-31433. In this topic, that is successive differentiation, helps to find the nth differential coefficient of the function y equal to f of x, and helps to find the differential coefficients, the relationship among the differential coefficients of different orders. And you also know the Leibniz theorem for finding the nth derivative of the function of the product of two functions. We will also see some applications of successive differentiation. Now let us start the discussion with Professor Srinivas Garu. Sir, can you please explain what is the successive differentiation and how do we represent it? Before going to explain to these questions, can you give some prerequisites to understand this topic, please?
For better understanding of successive differentiation, I suggest all the students to have good knowledge on differentiation and the methods of finding differential coefficients for the real valued functions. While solving questions on successive differentiation, they also need some knowledge on partial fractions and logarithms and some basic knowledge on trigonometry, like transformation of product of trigonometric functions in terms of their sum or difference of trigonometric functions. Now I will explain the today's concept, that is successive differentiation.
Yes.
The successive differentiation is the process of finding the derivatives of the derivatives one after the other. The differential coefficients what we come across while during this process are called successive differential coefficients. For having better understanding of this concept, probably the following explanation will give better idea for the students. Suppose y is equal to fx is a differentiable function. Because it is differentiable function, we can find out its derivative dy by dx. That dy by dx is also a function of x. If that is also differentiable, then we can find the derivative for dy by dx. The result of the derivative of the first derivative is the second derivative, and again the second derivative is also a differentiable function. We can find the derivative for that. That is called third order successive differentiation. See, for a given function y is equal to fx, if you find the successive differentiation continuously n times, successively n times, the differential coefficient what we get is represented with dn power y by dx power n. That is one notation. Of course, there are other notations too. You can see on the slide the other notation. The first derivative generally we represent with dy by dx y1 y superscript 1 or dy, capital D is the operator, differential operator, dy or f1x. Similarly, second derivative and the nth derivative. Just to avoid confusion from y square and second derivative, we put that 2 in brackets. Similarly, in the nth derivative, we put that n in the bracket in the superscript just to avoid the confusion between nth derivative and y power n. And also the derivatives, if you find the derivative and again if you find the derivative, that is d square y, and if you have lth derivative of y and again successively if you find kth derivative for it, then ultimately you will end up with the k plus lth derivative of y. Already if you have n minus kth derivative for y and again if you differentiate k more times, then you will get the nth derivative for y. This is the answer for this question.
Sir, suppose first n derivatives of the function exist.
Yeah.
Okay. Does it guarantee the existence of the n plus 1th derivative? Please explain it.
Yeah, this is a very, very important concept in successive differentiation. Generally, some students may have some misconcept that if a function is given, they can find the successive differentiation for all the orders.
Yeah.
But it is not so. If an nth derivative exists, it is not guaranteed that n plus 1th derivative also exists. For example, I will give you with simple example. You see the slide. Suppose you consider the function fx is equal to x square when x is positive and 0. It is minus x square when x is negative. That is, in other way we can represent that function as x into mod x is positive. And from the knowledge of differentiation what they learned in the previous courses, they can easily understand that it is a differentiable function and the derivative at 0 is f dash at 0 is 0. So if I find the derivative for it, I will get 2x and minus 2x when x positive and x negative. Ultimately we can represent with 2 mod x. So f dash x is not differentiable. 2 mod x is not a differentiable function. You can easily understand this using this graph. The next slide. Here you have a function. What you are seeing on the left side, you have a function fx is equal to x square when x positive minus x square when negative. Right side you have the function for 2 mod x, where when x is positive its derivative is 2, when left derivative is minus 2, therefore it is not differentiable. In general, the answer to your question is, if a function is differentiable where nth order derivative exists, it is not guaranteed that n plus 1th derivative also exists. In some cases they will exist, some cases they do not exist.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the answer for the question.
Sir, Dr. Fanikumar Garu, so before going to learn finding the higher order derivatives, for the benefit of the students, can you give some examples involving second and third order derivatives of the function, please?
Okay, ma'am. So before going to find out the nth order derivatives, so the students, it is better to practice the first and second order derivatives, how to find out the first derivative of the given function and the second derivative of the given function. Then by observing that pattern, then we can go for the nth derivatives. So let us see some examples how to find out the first derivative and the second derivative and the relations in that first derivative and second derivative. Suppose if you go to this slide, suppose in this first example let us consider the function y is equal to x log x over a plus bx. So in this slide, so we are going to prove this relation x cube into d square y by dx square, that is equal to x into dy by dx minus y whole square. Suppose if you observe in that relation, in that we are having the first derivative and in the left hand side we are having the second derivative, right? So let us take the function y is equal to x log x over a plus bx. So by simplicity, by simplifying the derivative, then I am considering that y is equal to x into, I am using log m minus log n. So by taking that y by x is equal to log x minus logarithm of a plus bx. So from this I am going to differentiate this function. So by using u by v formula and by observing that one, then we are going to get x into dy by dx minus y is equal to x square into 1 by x minus b over a plus bx by doing some simple calculation. So from this I am getting x into dy over dx minus y is equal to, by multiplying with that x square in the right hand side, then that calculation becomes ax over a plus bx. So if you are observing, we got the first derivative. Suppose in proving the relation, what is the relation given in the example, we are going to take the next derivative. So by observing this slide, so again I am going to differentiate with respect to x both left hand side and right hand side, and by taking the product formula, then we are going to get x into d square y by dx square and dy by dx minus dy by dx cancel. By taking simple calculation in the right hand side, finally we are getting a square over a plus bx whole square. So here I am going to some getting that relation, whatever the relation we are going to prove. For that purpose I am going to multiply this with x square, then finally we end up with the relation x cube into d square y by dx square is equal to x into dy by dx minus y whole square. So this is the way how to find out the first derivative, how to find out the second derivative, and among those derivatives we can prove some simple relations. Right. So let us go for another example. Suppose let us consider y is equal to x plus square root of x square plus 1 whole power m. So here we are going to prove this one, x square plus 1 y2. So by the notation in the previous slides, so y2 represents the second derivative and y1 represents the first derivative. So take that function y is equal to x plus square root of x square plus 1 whole power m. Take differentiation with respect to x, which is in the form of t power m. So m into t power m minus 1 into derivative of that t. So m into x plus square root of x square plus 1 whole power m minus 1 into d by dx of x plus square root of x square plus 1. Right. So all of you know the derivative of root x. Here we are applying the first part is same, and the second part derivative of by applying the linear property d by dx of x plus d by dx of root x becomes 1 by 2 root x into d by dx of x square plus 1. So by doing some simple calculation, we end up with the line y1 into square root of x square plus 1 is equal to my. By taking the squaring on both sides, then y1 square into x square plus 1, which is equal to m square y square. But in the given relation, in whatever the result we are going to prove in the given problem, again we are taking another derivative, again we are taking differentiating with respect to x, then y1 square becomes 2y1, the derivative of the first derivative becomes the second derivative, so we get y2. By taking the calculation and put that right hand side to the left hand side, then we get that result y2 into 1 plus x square plus xy1 minus m square y is equal to 0. Right. So those are simple algebraic that one. So now let us consider another problem. So that is the problem with the which includes in a parametric form, right?
Yeah.
So x is equal to a cos theta plus b sin theta and y is equal to a sin theta minus b cos theta. So we are going to prove that y square into d square y by dx square minus x into dy by dx plus y is equal to 0. That parametric relation where the parameter is theta, so by using some trigonometric relations, first of all I am going to remove that parameter. Right. So for that one I am taking x square plus y square. So x square plus y square, by using that sin square theta plus cos square theta is equal to 1, we get x square plus y square is equal to a square plus b square. In the same way what we did in example 1 and example 2, by taking the first derivative and again by taking the second derivative, then finally we get d square y by dx square is equal to minus of x square plus y square by y cube. By using 1 and 2, then by adding, then finally we end up with the result. Right, ma'am.
So as Dr. Fanikumar explained that, suppose for a function y equal to f of x, the 10th derivative of the function exists, but I want to wish to find it. Is it necessary to find the derivatives successively 10 times? Sir, please explain.
Yeah, this is a good question. If you want to find the 10th derivative of a function or 50th derivative of a function, if you have enough time and energy, you can find out the derivative successively by doing the derivative all the 10 times or 15 times or 50 times. But it's time consuming, and therefore what we do is, first of all we identify some functions and we call them as standard functions, and we derive the explicit relation for the nth derivative of those functions. And after finding the nth derivative of those functions, we find if any other function is given, and before going to that I will show you what are these standard functions generally we call it as. That is on the slide, you can see the list of things, that is fx is equal to e power ax, the list is given here, and slide please. So once the standard functions are known, if you find the derivative for the standard functions, then nth derivative of any other function is required. Find the express that function in terms of the standard functions and then find the nth derivative. That is the process.
Dr. Fanikumar garu, can you explain that how to find the nth derivative of the standard functions?
Right, ma'am. So the most important topic in this successive differentiation, which is finding the nth derivatives of some standard functions, right? So there are some functions, whatever Sir said in the previous slide. So there are some standard functions. By using these standard functions, we can find out the successive derivatives of the remaining functions. Right. So let us consider some standard functions. We will see one by one standard functions. Suppose let us first consider the function y is equal to e raise ax. Right. So I am going to find out nth order derivatives of some this function y is equal to e power e raise ax. First let us take the first derivative of this function. Suppose see the slide. So in this the first derivative y1, which is equal to e power ax derivative e power ax multiply with a. So we get the factor a. So a times e power ax. Now by taking the second derivative of that function again with respect to x, we are getting the next factor. Another a will come into the factor, then it becomes a squared e power ax. And y3, take the differentiation with respect to x of y2, then we are going to get a cube e power ax. Like that, by observing the pattern, the coefficient in the first derivative, the coefficient of e power ax is a power 1. In the second derivative, which is a square, the third derivative, which is a cube, and by using this pattern and yn, which is equal to a raise n into e power ax. So this is the nth derivative of the exponential function. Suppose if you take the constant a is equal to n1, then the nth derivative of e power ax becomes e power x. Now, let us consider another function. Suppose this is the function y is equal to a raise mx, and we are going to find out the nth derivative of the function by using the see the slide. So given y is equal to a raise mx, by taking the first derivative, differentiating that function with respect to x, a power x or a power t into log a into derivative of that t. So by applying that differentiation formula, then we are getting the factor m times log a into a power mx. By taking the next derivative, so differentiation with respect to x again, we are getting another factor m log a, then m log a into m log a, which is equal to m log a whole square into a power mx. Right. So again I am going to differentiation that y2 with respect to x again, we are getting another m log a, then it becomes m log whole cube into a power mx. By observing this pattern, y, the nth derivative of y, which is equal to m times log a whole power n into a power mx. Okay. So this is the nth derivative of the function y is equal to a raise mx. Now let us consider another example, another standard function. Let it be y is equal to ax plus b whole power m. This is the most important function, which is another standard function. And my suggestion to the students, just if you remember the nth derivatives of all these standard functions, then it is very easy to find out the successive derivatives or the nth derivatives of the given functions by converting into these standard functions. Right. Suppose y is equal to ax plus b whole power m, where a and b are real numbers and m is any real number, n is we are going to find out the nth derivative. Right. Suppose I am going to find out the first derivative of the function, differentiating y with respect to x. So here y1 is equal to a times a power 1 into that means first, which is in the form of t power m. So m into t power m minus 1. So here m into ax plus b whole power m minus 1 into derivative of that ax plus b, which is equal to a. So the coefficient is a power 1 into m into ax plus b whole power m minus 1. Now take the differentiation of the function y1, again with respect to x we get y2. So as m ax plus b again whole power m minus 1, it becomes m minus 1 into ax plus b whole power m minus 2, and the remaining a power 1 into m in y1 as it is same, and the derivative of ax plus b is again a, then we get the coefficient which is a squared m. Right. So y3, so like that by observing the pattern, so we are going to get the series m, m minus 1, m minus 2 and the coefficient that is a cube and ax plus b whole power m minus 3. So then the corresponding, then we observe the pattern, then we can find out the nth derivative of the function, which becomes m into m minus 1 into m minus 2 into m minus 3 so on n terms, which is equal to ax plus b whole power m minus n into a power m. Right. So here we are going to observe m is a real number. Here we are going to consider some cases. Suppose when m less than n and when m greater than n and m is equal to n. So if suppose in the first case, suppose when m less than n, whenever m less than 1, at some point of time that series ends up, therefore the nth derivative becomes 0. Suppose if you observe the second case, this when m greater than n, so we are getting mpn, so m factorial by m minus n factorial, then a power n into ax plus b whole power m minus n. Suppose if you take m is equal to n, suppose if you substitute that m is equal to n, then finally we get n factorial into a power n. Right. Suppose the most important case, if m is a negative integer, that means m ax plus b whole power minus m, where m by substituting that m is a positive, then it becomes m is a negative integer. Here by observing this nth order derivative, nth derivative for that function, a power n into minus 1 power n mod m plus n minus 1, because where m is negative, by modulus of m minus 1 factorial into ax plus b whole power m minus n. So, and here we are going to see another function. We can derive the nth derivative of the function, that is ax plus b. Then nth derivative of 1 by ax plus b, we can write down it as ax plus b whole power minus 1. Putting that m is equal to 1, we get this result. In the same result, we can find out the nth derivative of another standard function, which is logarithm of ax plus b. And the most important, suppose when we want to find out the 10th derivative, first we differentiate one time and take 9 derivatives. The same reason here we can apply. First we take the differentiation one derivative of log of ax plus b, and it becomes a over ax plus b. This differentiation again I am going to do n minus 1 derivatives. The total derivatives would be n derivatives. So the final answer n minus 1 derivatives of ax plus b. Already we are having n derivatives of 1 over ax plus b. Right. Suppose let us consider another standard function, y is equal to sine of ax plus b. I wish to find out the nth derivative of this function. Differentiation of that function with respect to x, sine cos of ax plus b into derivative of ax plus b becomes a. I am going to convert this again into sine form. We know that by standard trigonometric formula, sine of pi by 2 plus x is equal to cos x, then it becomes a into sine pi by 2 plus ax plus b. By taking the second derivative here, in the angle sine angle, so in the first derivative we are getting pi by 2 plus ax plus b. In this angle we are getting 2 pi by 2 ax plus b. By observing the pattern by taking the third derivative, the angle becomes 3 pi by 2, the factor becomes a cube. Like that, by observing the nth derivative, it becomes a raise n sine of n pi by 2 plus ax plus b. In the similar fashion, we can find out the nth derivatives of y is equal to cos of ax plus b. It becomes a raise n cos of n pi by 2 plus ax plus b. Right. Now, another standard function, y is equal to e power ax into sine of bx plus c. Right. So here we are going to find out the nth derivative of this function. Y is equal to e power ax into sine of bx plus c. Take the differentiation of y with respect to x by applying the product rule, e power ax into b cos of bx plus c plus a into e power ax into sine of bx plus c. Here we are going to by converting this function into the previous standard form. Here we are going to do some calculation. I am multiplying and dividing with the square root of a square plus b square. By observing this one, then the first derivative becomes, by taking a square plus b square, e power ax into root of a square plus b square. I am going to call this b by root of a square plus b square as sine theta, a by root of a square plus b square as cos theta. By using some trigonometric formula, y1 is equal to square root of a square plus b square into e power ax into sine of theta plus bx plus c, where theta becomes tan inverse b by a. Right. So like that, in the second, by taking the second derivative, in the angle it becomes 2 theta plus bx plus c, and the coefficient becomes root of a square plus b square whole square. By observing this pattern, the nth derivative of that e power ax into sin of ax plus b, the coefficient becomes root of a square plus b square whole power n, and if you observe the angle in sine, it becomes sin of n theta plus bx plus c, and theta becomes tan inverse of b by a. Like the same fashion, we can find out the nth order derivative of y is equal to e power ax into cos of bx plus c. Right. So let us summarize all the nth derivatives of some standard functions. So in the first column we are having the function, in the second column we are having the nth derivative. E raise ax, a power n into e power ax, a power mx, ax plus b whole power m, where m is a negative integer, ax plus b whole power m minus m, logarithm of ax plus b, 1 by ax plus b nth derivative, and sin of ax plus b, cos of ax plus b, e power ax into bx plus c, and e power ax into bx plus c.
So these are the listed of the nth derivative of the
Yes,
standard functions.
standard
Sir?
functions.
Sir Srinivas Garu, as Dr. Fanikumar explained that finding the nth derivative of the standard functions, can we find the nth derivative of the functions other than the standard functions?
Yes, that's already I have explained that. If any function other than the standard functions are given to you, the first thing what you have to do is you have to express that given function in terms of the standard functions as sum or difference of the standard functions, and then find the nth derivative of the given function. To explain this concept, I'll mention some of the examples. While doing so, while expressing the given function in terms of standard functions, one may need to use the partial fractions or logarithms or maybe trigonometry, some mathematical ideas what they have learned so far,
Which is suitable.
and they have to convert those things. I will give some examples on that.
Okay, sir.
So let us consider the first example. See the slide. Fx is equal to ax plus b by cx plus d. We have a function ax plus b by cx plus d that is not in the standard form what we have already covered. Only if we have 1 by cx plus d we can find the nth derivative. But here we have ax plus b in the numerator. Therefore, simply by dividing ax plus b with cx plus d, we can write it as a by c plus some constant in the numerator by cx plus d. If I want to find the nth derivative for it, it is equivalent to finding the nth derivative for a by c plus some constant by cx plus d. A by c derivative is anyway 0, so that constant can be taken out, and simply find the derivative for 1 by cx plus d. Already we know the standard formula for finding the nth derivative for 1 by cx plus d. By using that formula, we can find the nth derivative of ax plus b by cx plus d. And let us go for another example. 8x by x cube minus 2x square minus 4x plus 8. If we observe the denominator is a cubic function, so cubic polynomial. Let us, if we factorize it, it will be like x minus 2 whole square into x plus 2. So that is the function given to us. I need to write it as in terms of the standard form. If I have only 1 by x plus 2, I can find the nth derivative. If I have only 1 by x minus 2 whole square, I can find the nth derivative. So what I do is I will use here the technique of partial fractions. What in the earlier classes the students already learned about the partial fractions. By using those partial fractions, they can express that given rational fraction 8x by x minus 2 whole square into x plus 2 as the partial fractions. And once they have partial fractions, then they can apply the nth derivative. There we have 1 by x minus 2, have converted the given function y as a sum of 1 by x minus 2, which is a standard function for which we can find the nth derivative. Similarly, 1 by x plus 2, for that is also in the standard form, therefore we can find the nth derivative for it. 1 by x minus 2 whole square, that is also in the standard form. We use ax plus b whole to the power of minus n, and we can find the nth derivative. Here one observation is if you 1 by x minus 2, finding the nth derivative for 1 by x minus 2 whole square is the same as finding n plus 1th derivative for 1 by x minus 2, because if you find the derivative for 1 by x minus 2, you will get 1 by x minus 2 whole square term will be there. So finding the nth derivative for 1 by x minus 2 whole square is equivalent as finding 1 by n plus 1th derivative for 1 by x minus 2. If the student uses that kind of thought process, if they implement, they can solve the problems easily. And coming to one more example, here we have a product of three functions in trigonometry, that is cos x, cos 2x and cos 3x. We can always convert that in terms of sum of cosine and sine functions by using the formula like cos A cos B is cos sum plus cos difference. If I use that formula, definitely we can write it as sum of the cosine functions. By using that standard trigonometric functions, one can write the given function as 1/4 of cos 6x plus cos 4x plus cos 2x plus 1. So if I find the nth derivative for 1 is anyway 0, so it is enough if I find the nth derivative for cos 6x, cos 4x and cos 2x, as already we have the standard formula for finding the nth derivative for those things. Therefore, nth derivative is 6 power n cos n pi by 2 plus 6x. Similarly, whatever the formula, we simply, if we apply those formulae, we will get it. So here, one more thing is, in some problems, the students may come across while expressing the given function in terms of the standard functions. For example, in this example, instead of 1, what we are seeing here, probably if they have x square or x, if they have x, then for standard formula for yn, if you write, you have to express it separately, y1 and yn both separately. For yn, n is equal to 1, you have to give it, yn for n is greater than 1 also you should mention separately, if it is difference from it. Once if you are giving an expression for nth derivative, means does it give the n for all the order derivatives, first, including n is equal to 1, 2, 3. If it doesn't satisfy, for those things you have to find out separately. And one more thing is e power 5x into cos x into cos 3x. The examples what we considered here, they will cover almost all the standard functions what we have considered so far. So again, cos x into cos 3x, by using the transformation formula of trigonometry, we can write it as a sum of cosines. And e power 5x into some cosine functions. In this example, we get e power 5x cos 2x is one, e power 5x cos 4x is another one. And by applying the standard formula, we can as well find out the nth derivative for it.
Sir Srinivas garu, in the differentiation, we have the product formula.
Yes.
And quotient formula. So that is the derivative of the product rule, and that is the derivative of the quotient rule of u and v.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So similarly, do we have such a formula for nth derivatives also?
Yeah, nth derivative for product of functions.
Yeah.
We have
Product rule and quotient rule.
Quotient rule and product rule we have there in the first order derivatives we have. In fact, though you have u by v formula, what we generally people call it as u by v formula, or it is a rational function, we can call it as. For a rational fraction, if you want to find the derivative, you will apply u by v formula. In differentiation, the students will learn u v formula and u by v formula separately. But u by v formula can also be considered as a product formula, because u by v can be taken as u into 1 by v.
Yeah.
So more or less we can take it as there is only one formula, which is a product formula, derivative of u v.
Yeah.
So if we are interested to find the nth derivative straight away for that product, we can do it. That is given by a theorem called Leibniz theorem. So the Leibniz theorem helps us in finding the nth derivative of a product of two functions.
Yeah.
The statement of the theorem is like this. If you have two functions u and v, of course those two functions u and v should have nth order derivatives. If any one of them doesn't have any nth order derivative, definitely that theorem will not work out. We assume that there are two functions u and v which are differentiable n times, and if you are interested to find the nth derivative of their product, then that can be done by using this Leibniz theorem. It will have n plus 1 terms. The first term will be a binomial quotient NC0, and nth derivative for one of those functions into second function. Second term will be NC1, another binomial quotient, multiplied by n minus 1th derivative of u and v, second v1, first derivative for v. So if you observe the terms goes on one by one, for one function u, the derivative, order of the derivative decreases, whereas for the other function v, order of the derivative increases. So while solving questions on this, one has to wisely select u and v. If he selects v such a way that after finding the derivative some finite number of times, if it becomes 0, probably they need not do it further. So wisely they have to select u and v. So that, and the proof is also there, but based on the time constraint, and this proof is very easy.
Okay.
And for solving this, for giving the proof of this theorem can be easily done by using a concept already at the lower level they learn, at the intermediate level they will learn one concept called mathematical induction. Using that mathematical induction they can easily prove this theorem. And on this theorem let us see some examples so that the students will understand easily. Suppose I have x cube and cos x. I can find out the, for cos x I can find out the nth derivative maybe of any order, maybe first order, second order, nth order, any order we can find. Whereas for x cube also we can find out the nth order, but from fourth order onwards the derivative is always 0. And third order derivative only will get factorial 3, that is 6. So I choose v as x cube so that I can finish it in the 4 terms. The theorem can be applied by taking into consideration only the 4 terms. So if I, for v the derivative is x cube is v, v1 is 3x square, v2 is 6x, v3 is 6, and anyway for cos x we have the derivatives simply by plugging into the formula what we have in the Leibniz theorem. Cos x nth derivative into x cube, cos x n minus 1th derivative into first derivative for v, that is 3x square, like that, and if you substitute those things then you can find out the nth derivative. So here we have selected that x cube as v. And coming to the second example, y is equal to x power n minus 1 into log x, and we need to find out the nth derivative for y. And here this kind of problems trickily, log x, for log x we have nth derivative, and x power n minus 1 also we can have n minus 1th derivative, but straight away if you take one as u, another as v, we can solve it, but it becomes very laborious. While solving that problem will be a difficult one if you straight away apply that Leibniz theorem by taking any one of x power n minus 1 log x as u and another as v. Therefore, we adopt some other technique. This technique is, first we find out only first derivative because we are interested to find the nth derivative. We find only first derivative, and after that n minus 1th derivative we find using Leibniz theorem. So that is what we adopt here. So while if I find the first derivative, I have some relationship. At the beginning, Fanikumar has given some problems involving second order and first order and third order derivatives. So there, those ideas are helpful here. If you find out some relationship among the derivatives of first to second order and the function itself, then again differentiating that will give you an easy way of solving the problems. So if I find the first derivative for it, xy1 will be x power n minus 1 plus n minus 1 into y, and if I differentiate n minus 1 times using that Leibniz theorem, they can see on the slide. Xyn, and if I find the xyn I have on the left side. If I find the nth derivative, n minus 1th derivative here, because already one derivative is found, so n minus 1 times I am finding the Leibniz theorem. So for xy1, if I differentiate n minus 1 times using Leibniz theorem, these are the two terms what I am getting on the left side, because x is there, that function at first derivative, from second derivative onwards it becomes 0, therefore only two terms I have. And the right side, anyway directly x power n minus 1 n minus 1th derivative is n minus 1 factorial, n minus 1 into y is there on this right side, therefore that it is n minus 1. The n minus 1 into y n minus 1 cancels on both the sides, and straight away we get the result. So the idea is, in some problems they need to find out the relationship among y1, y2 or second order, first order derivatives and the function itself, and then do the remaining derivatives. That is always the better one.
Okay, sir. Dr. Fanikumar garu, can you give some examples on finding the relationship among the nth and n plus 1 and n plus 2th derivatives, please?
Yes, ma'am. So here we can find out the relationship between the nth derivatives and minus 1th derivatives and n plus 1th derivatives. And sometimes we call this as we studied in the previous class, we call it as a recurrence relations also, because we can express it. Suppose let us take one example. so nth derivative of x power n into log x. So we are going to prove this result. By observing this result, the left hand side is the nth derivative and the right hand side involves n minus 1th derivative. Suppose let us take the given function nth derivative. So d power n dx power n of x power n log x. Suppose I am going to take the first derivative, because this is the nth derivative. That nth derivative can be expressed as n minus 1 derivatives of one derivative. So the total derivative should be n. So by taking one derivative on x power n log x, so it becomes by applying the product rule x power n into 1 over x plus log x will be the same x power n into x power n minus 1. So now by observing this one in the product in the factor x power n minus 1 plus n into x power n minus 1 into log x. Now I am going to apply n minus 1 derivatives on that whatever the factor inside it. So the first one, n minus 1 derivatives of x power n minus 1, it becomes n minus 1 factorial, and by observing n minus 1 derivatives of the remaining, already that is by applying the given n derivatives becomes x power n log x, so it becomes n into n minus 1 derivatives. So by observing the right hand side, it becomes n into n minus 1 derivatives plus n minus 1 factorial. The left hand side becomes n derivatives. In the right hand side we are having n minus 1 derivatives. Suppose let us consider another example. Y is equal to a into cos of log x plus b into sin of log x. By observing this result, what we are going to prove? So in this result we are having n derivatives, n plus 1 derivatives, n plus 2 derivatives. So this is the relation which involves n plus 1 and n plus 2. So let us take that function y is equal to a cos of log x plus b sin of log x and take differentiation with respect to x by simple differentiation, and we get that xy1 is equal to minus a sin of log x plus b cos of log x. Because log x derivative is 1 by x, take that into the left hand side, then we get xy1. Now again differentiating that xy1 that with respect to x, then we are getting x square y2 plus xy1 plus y is equal to 0. Now here we are going to apply the Leibniz theorem what we discussed in the previous slide, Professor Sar said. So by applying Leibniz theorem in x square y2, choosing this function, here the x square first derivative is 2x, second derivative is 2, third derivative becomes 0. So from third derivative onwards 0. So in the first term we take that as v is equal to x square and u is equal to y2, and x as v and u is y1, and in this y take that v is equal to 1 and u is equal to y, and applying Leibniz theorem we get the final result, right? So in example 3, suppose y is equal to sin inverse x root of 1 minus x square. Here by observing this relation involves n minus 1 and n plus 1. In the same procedure what we did in example 1 and example 2, by applying this, differentiation, and at some point of time we apply Leibniz theorem, then we can get this result. So like this we can express the relations in terms of n plus 1, n minus 1, n minus 2 derivatives we can get.
Sir Srinivas Garu, so far we have discussed that the finding the successive derivatives and the nth order derivative of the standard functions as well as other functions also, and we also seen that the relation between the nth and the n plus 1th and n plus 2th derivatives also. Now can you explain that the use of successive differentiation, and can you give some applications of successive derivatives, please?
Yeah. A successive differentiation has very wide applications. Using the second derivative, we can find the maximum and minimum values of the function. And first derivative anyway, it will give the increase when the function is increasing, when it is decreasing. And another example is we can understand the concavity and convexity of the curves.
Yeah.
So if a curve is concave, from where it is changing from concavity to convexity, convexity to concavity. These things also we can learn, and we can express any function.
Okay.
If successive derivatives exist for it, we can always represent the function as a polynomial. That means polynomial approximation of the functions, which is a very, very important concept. Generally, every student will use this thing. The sin x is almost all x. When x is small, sin x is equal to x.
Yeah.
This is the thing generally people will use in physics and everywhere. So sin x is equal to x means they are approximating that function sin x as a first order polynomial x when x is very small. If x takes a bit more than that value, probably they may use to approximate that sin x as a cubic function. So these kind of applications, there are so many things are there. So let us see some of the applications, like if you know the displacement of a particle with respect to t, if it is given, if you want to find out the velocity, the differentiation helps us in finding the velocity. If you want to find out the acceleration for it, the rate of change of displacement is velocity, rate of change of velocity is acceleration. So second derivative for the displacement gives the acceleration. Like that, there are so many examples. So let us see how they will be. The simple thing, suppose s is equal to f of t is the expression for what is that? If a particle is moving on a plane, satisfying that particular formula, then for different values of t, s is given, the displacement is given. If you find the ds by dt, you will get the velocity. Again, if you differentiate d square s by dt square, that is rate of change of velocity, which is the acceleration. So like this we can find out the velocity, acceleration and all. Coming to the other important concept, that is what concavity and convexity. So on the slide they can see that a concave upward and concave downward. The concave upward curve we call it as the convex curve also, the other name for it, and concave downwards curve we call it as the concave. So some people also say convex downward is concave and convex upward is in the reverse way also. So on the slide they can observe that just easy to remember, if you observe the cup, 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 so concave upward, that is what we call it as convex. The cup we will call it as concave upward curve, concave downward curve. So if you draw a curve on a plane, so sometimes up to some point it will have concavity, and after that it will have the convexity. And where the curve changes it concavity to convexity and convexity to concavity, that point we call it as the point of inflection. Just similar to a first derivative, the tangent increases and then decreases, then it is the maximum point, and the curve decreases, where the point the curve decreases to increases, that is what we call it as the minimum point. In the similar way, wherever the second derivative changes its sign, we call them as points of inflection. For finding those things, this is very much required. So suppose if you are given a function and y is equal to fx, if you find the derivative for it, every one of us know from the differentiation that if dy by dx is positive, it is increasing, and dy by dx is negative, it is decreasing. So dy by dx is increasing means the curve is increasing. Whenever something is increasing, its derivative should be positive. Right. So if a curve is increasing, when the slope is increasing, dy by dx is increasing, its derivative, that is second derivative also increases. That is what we call it as the concave upward curve. If second derivative, if the tangent decreases, for different points, if the slope of the tangent decreases, the slope of the tangent decreasing means dy by dt is decreasing. So its derivative becomes automatically negative. Therefore, whenever the derivative, second derivative becomes negative, that is what we call it as concave curve. So to understand whether it is concave or convex, find out the second derivative. Once the second derivative is known, if it is positive, we call it as convex, it is negative, we call it as concave. And whenever it is positive to negative, for change from positive to negative, definitely it will cross 0. So where the second derivative becomes 0, that means that whenever the curve is d square y by dx square is changing from positive to negative or from negative to positive, that means that d square y by dx square where the second derivative becomes 0, those points we call them as points of inflection. That is what another application for that. And so here one example on the slide they can see y is equal to x cube is the curve. That curve when x is negative, it has concavity nature. When the curve is positive, it is the convexity nature. But at x is equal to 0, the second derivative if you find for 3x cube, first derivative is 3x square, second derivative is 6x, and if I equate to 0, x is equal to 0, we get that x is equal to 0, second derivative is becoming 0. That is the point of inflection for this function. So that we can say that it is changing from concavity to convexity. Generally, either in engineering or everywhere, whenever they have applications, just to know, especially civil engineers while forming the roads and all, they need to consider where they have convexity, where they have concavity and all. There this help them a lot in doing those.
Okay, sir.
And one more application is that's what I just mentioned, which is polynomial approximation of a function. If you are given a function and always we can about any point A, we can express it as a polynomial infinite, we can write it as a series. On the screen they can see that Taylor series. That's what Taylor series. If the point A what you have taken is 0, then it is called a Maclaurin series. So probably in the students might have come across this some kind of expansions like sin x, e power x, cos x expansions they might have read so far by that time. So all those approximations are the Maclaurin series. So if for example, if I have sin x, if I use this expansion, it can be written as x minus x cube by 3 factorial, x power 5 by 5 factorial, x power 7 by 7 factorial, etc. Similarly for e power x also I can express as infinite. And the thing is, what they have to understand here is, if we have e power x and on the right side you have infinite number of terms, and out of those terms if you take only one first term, that means e power x is approximated with 1.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So
these are the applications of the successive derivatives.
So that they can understand by looking at this animation. So this slide,
it shows that
there is a blue curve which is e power x, and the red one is changing, the red curve. Observe that at the beginning it has y is equal to 1, the first one, next is y 1 plus x, next is parabola, next is cubics. That means it is coinciding with that curve. So as long as you take more and more terms on the right side, they are coinciding with e power x.
Yes,
that is
sir.
what the expansion is. This is the application.
Yes, sir. Yeah. From this discussion, I hope you have learnt finding the successive derivatives and finding the nth order derivative of the standard functions, and also using Leibniz theorem for finding the nth derivative of the product of two functions. Thank you. Thank you for participating in this program, sir. Thank you, sir, for participating in this program. Thank you.
అనుకూలించడం లేదా? మీలాంటి వారి కోసమే ఈ అద్భుతమైన అంబేద్కర్ సార్వత్రిక విశ్వవిద్యాలయం మీకు బాసటగా నిలుస్తోంది. ఎలాంటి కనీస విద్యార్హత లేకున్నా